I'll be reviewing one of the most iconic cars from the 90s, and that is an Acura NSX. And I'll be giving you a tour, driving around, giving you my thoughts, and tell you how it compares to my Ferrari 360. Stay tuned. As you guys can see, this Acura NSX is not stock. This is a 1991, the first year that NSX was introduced in the States. It is equipped with a 5-speed manual, 3-liter VTEC engine that has titanium rods and goes above 8,000 RPM, generates 270 horsepower stock. As you can see from the wheels, these are BBS wheels, 18 in the front, 19 in the rear. The car also has aftermarket suspension, which you can see it is lowered about 2 inches or so from stock, and the ground clearance is extremely low. This is actually much lower than my Ferrari, so I can't wait to take this out on the road and see how it drives in corners. But as you can see from the paint itself, this is in really good condition for 1991. We're talking about almost 30 years, and you know, with these subtle updates, the wheels and the suspension, it looks like a modern car. It looks like a modern sports car. It is a mid-engine car, and the overall shape, this was designed, guys, to compete with Ferrari. When this was designed, this is when the Ferrari 348 was out, and this blew it away. This is how the NSX got on the map and how everyone started to take this car seriously, because compared to the alternative, it was light years ahead. The trunk is huge. This doesn't really come out well in this video. It is certainly wide enough for a golf bag or 2 or 3. I'm fairly confident you could probably fit 3 or 4 golf bags in here, no problem. Like in my Ferrari, my Ferrari is definitely deeper, but not nearly as wide as this. Now, looking at the front, it is not a trunk. There's a spare tire that probably hasn't been touched for 30 years. You got all the fluids and so forth, radiator that's up here. So unlike my Ferrari where the trunk is in the front, you saw the trunk is in the rear, and the front is taken up by other engine components. Now, I apologize, somehow my footage showing the engine bay got lost, but here's a picture, you get the idea. It is a small engine bay in the back, right behind the back seats, and it's fairly accessible. However, it is tight and cramped, so unlike my 360, if you're looking to do some exhaust work and so forth, you definitely have to start underneath the engine, and it is going to be a tight fit for people with bigger hands. Now, a little quirk to this car that a lot of people don't know is the fact that when you close this, since it's pushing down so much air, it's actually not easy to get locked. See, you have to actually really slam it to get it closed. Now, I'm sure you guys want to know how this sounds. So getting in and out of the car, for me, a little bit more difficult than my Ferrari because the roof is lower and it is simply lower. Once inside, it kind of looks like all the other 90s Hondas that was produced. The gauge cluster isn't really impressive other than the fact that RPM goes up to 8,000 RPMs. And looking at the center console, of course, any car in the 90s have a tape deck, and this is pretty standard. And as you can see, 5-speed. It has a built-in phone for those people that wanted to travel in class. Cabin is pretty nice. The seats are pretty supportive. Lower roof height, obviously. The leg room is a little bit tighter. Shoulder room, hip room is all a bit tight, but still, I could fit in pretty comfortably. It's just that if you're 6'5", you'll probably have a hard time getting in and sitting comfortably. So as you can see, this is pretty standard, nothing really special. This is kind of like out of Honda's parts bin, right? But what is different is how it drives and how it sounds. So let's go for a ride. getting used to this clutch. So right away I can tell the engagement of the clutch is very high. So that's actually unlike all the other Hondas I've driven, like a Civic, where it's super light and engages quickly. This, on the other hand, is more like a sports car. Well, that's what you would expect from NSX, right? I'm in local roads right now, cruising around 40 miles per hour. I do feel rattles. I can hear things rattling around a little bit, but you know what, to be fair, this is a car from 1991, so probably a lot of the foam and panels have gotten loose over time. Other than that, the clutch being a little bit high, it drives very smooth, very smooth. The brakes feel pretty good, and overall the sound, because the aftermarket exhaust in this one sounds pretty good. Hopefully some of this is coming through. In terms of acceleration, I'll be honest, at first gear and second gear, you definitely don't have that brute acceleration that you get in a Ferrari 360 or anything that has over 100 horsepower compared to this. But I also feel like it's because of the gearing, and I do feel like because of the gearing and the fact that VTEC doesn't kick in until 6,000 plus RPM, that is the reason. And in local roads right here, I'm struggling to actually get above that. All right, so got a little bit of a straightaway. Let me give it some gas, see if that comes through for you guys. But I'm waiting for these cars to pass right now. Not bad. I felt it, got up there. I felt the VTEC kick in a little bit. When VTEC kicks in, you could feel it, like the exhaust note changes, and it's quite phenomenal. I could definitely tell one of the reasons why you don't get that brute acceleration in first is because it is actually geared. It's actually geared pretty low. I mean, I could actually go up to probably 40 miles per hour in first and still be okay with it without hitting red line. In my Ferrari, that's just not doable. You know, I have to shift in second before that happens, and that's because it's geared extremely high. So I think that is a big reason why you don't get that instant acceleration. However, for daily driving and stop and go traffic, it's pretty damn good. Because this car does not have power steering, and it wasn't introduced, I believe, until 1995, it makes getting in and out of parking lots actually quite difficult, or at least maybe I'm not man enough or not manly enough to handle it, because you have to really struggle with it. Obviously, once you get up to speed, it is not a problem at all. But I just parked here, right, and there's no one next to me. If there was, this is going to be very difficult, so I'm going to try to back out, and hopefully I don't crash. Oh man, yeah, that was a lot more difficult than it needed to be. One of the biggest, I guess, good or bad about owning a Ferrari 360 is the fact that it's a Ferrari, especially mine is in bright red. People pay attention and they give me good thumbs up, or hey, nice car and so forth. I get a lot of looks. In this Acura, I don't get that. Like, unless a person is a car nut and really respects this car and know what it is, it kind of just looks like an older 90s Honda, and it doesn't get a lot of looks from people. And that is for you if you want to stay low-key while enjoying something nice like this, that you could bang the gears and drive it out in a curvy road or on a Sunday morning. This car is excellent for that. You know, on the outside, the car sounds a lot louder than on the inside. Like, for my Ferrari, I know that regardless, inside, outside, it sounds loud. But on the outside of this, when I start it up, it sounds louder at idle than my Ferrari, yet inside, I don't hear it as much. So that could be, you know, just the way the exhaust is positioned, or it has better insulation in there. Now, something that is very much in common with my 360 is the fact that this car and all NSXs have been going up in value. Now, the owner, he's a friend of my brother-in-law, and he said he picked this up a few years ago, about 3 years ago, in the 40s. And now these are going for the 50s. That's pretty good, and he's been putting miles on this. So kind of just like the Ferrari 360s and some of the older Ferraris, NSXs are becoming collector's cars. A lot of people really love this car. So that's my review of this 1991 Acura NSX. What are my final thoughts? Well, compared to my 360, definitely doesn't have the same kind of acceleration, same kind of looks. The inside is a bit more dated in my opinion. I hear more rattles. Overall looks is more or less like a 90s Honda. And I don't hear the exhaust as much as I thought I would. However, there are a lot of pros to this car. Okay, I mentioned that it is very easy to work on, very easy to maintain. The car is appreciating in value. That's a big plus. Imagine getting a really fun car that goes up in value over time, right? Also, if you're the type of person that doesn't want a lot of looks, this is the car, because outside car enthusiasts, not a lot of people know what car this is. And with great visibility, large trunk, and infinite amount of mods that's available for this car, you know, outside of cams, exhaust, intake, people put turbos or superchargers on here that makes this close to 500 horsepower. If that's the way you want to go, you could definitely do it. If you want to keep it stock, you could do that. And in my opinion, stock with some nice wheels and the car being lowered like this is one of the best looking sports cars to date still. To conclude, I think the Acura NSX could be the best budget sports car that you can buy today. That's right, sports car, but not supercar. Thanks for watching, guys. Hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.